Do you still like, I mean, when you go to like a wedding or something like
Oh,
that, are you're out there just getting down?
yes, definitely,
Nice,
definitely.
nice.
Maybe not break dancing, but I could twerk.
Hey everybody, welcome to the BLIP podcast where we help agents build successful agencies. I'm your host, Josh Berg, and today I have Dani Kimble on with me. Dani, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Dani's Chief Marketing Officer for the O'Neill Group, and so I'm excited to have her on. We're going to talk about just kind of social and how she does things, and just kind of get an inside look from her, and hopefully it's beneficial. I'm sure it will be. But before we get into that, I just want a quick mention, like I do in every episode. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Leave a comment or review. It really helps us reach more people, and that's the whole goal of this: help more people build successful agencies. So, with that, Dani, again, thank you for being with us. And why don't we start? Can you just give maybe a brief history of your background? Like, where'd you start from? How did you get started in the insurance industry? Kind of bring us up to date.
Sure, sure. So I actually, my background is in dance and the performing arts. And like many people, I always say I stumbled into the insurance industry, just like the rest of us, or a lot of us have, if we weren't raised in the industry and are part of a family agency. So I have an undergraduate degree in dance and a master's degree in dance, and spent the first, I'd say, 10 years of my professional career really focused in the performing arts. And I sustained a knee injury a couple times. The second time I had the reconstructive surgery, and it kind of realigned me, made me kind of focus more on a new direction. But growing up, being in the arts and being very creative, I knew I needed to be doing something that maybe wasn't as physical, but also really, really entrenched in the creative. And so I started looking for marketing jobs. And I had found a marketing coordinator position posted by the local insurance agency up the street, which is O'Neill Insurance, where I'm at now. That was about a little over 3 years ago, and I had no experience with insurance other than knowing that I needed car insurance and home insurance. And so 3 years in, I've learned so much about insurance, and I've really become super passionate about telling the story through the agency and getting to learn insurance a little bit more. So that's where I'm at.
Well, let me ask this. So when you get a degree in dance and then you get your master's in dance, like what's your expectation on how you're going to use that?
Yes, no, that's a great question. So I went to Temple University in Philadelphia, and it's recognized for their master's program in not only dance but dance education. And so I saw this alignment between teaching dance and I would have loved to teach at the university, the local university level, and then also perform. And so I wanted to do both. And that's what I was able to do. While I was in Philly, I was able to perform professionally just because there's so many different companies around that area. But then I was also able to then practice teaching, and I got to teach at Temple University. I really, really learned to love that. And then I spent, years teaching in different studios, and I was the director of a performing arts school up in Westlake, and that was such a phenomenal experience while I was still then able to perform as well.
Nice. So when you say dance, my first thought is ballet. Is that accurate, or were you like hip hop? Like what was your thing?
So I'm trained in ballet. Yes, okay. I train in multiple different styles. And I I would teach contemporary dance, which is a combination of like modern and ballet. But then I was into hip hop dance, especially during the graduate years. My college roommates are actually the creative directors for Ariana Grande's show. And before they ended up moving to New York City, I toured around with them for years, and then the rest of our ensembles from the Akron area as well. And we would perform on BET and a number of different events across the nation. So yeah, hip hop is in the list there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you still like, I mean, when you go to like a wedding or something like that, are you're out there just getting down?
Yes, definitely.
Nice,
Definitely.
nice.
Maybe not break dancing, but I guess
Awesome. Okay, so when you went on your job interview for the O'Neill Group, you had no real like marketing background, right? What I mean, is that what they were looking for, or were they looking for somebody with marketing and you just wowed them?
So that's a great question. When I got to O'Neill Insurance, I had learned when I got there for the first interview, I had learned that they had interviewed a number of different people that either were graduating with a marketing degree or had marketing experience, and they weren't really sold on them yet. You could just tell, and they weren't saying that out loud, but you could just tell in their tone that they weren't really sold on them. I knew applying for this job was a long shot because while I had no marketing experience, I did just working in the arts. You wear a lot of hats, especially in like nonprofit organizations. And so I was always like leading the committees for the social media channels, or I was leading the graphics, and I was just literally using PowerPoint to pull flyers together and things. Like that's my only marketing experience. Like it was very, very basic. And I did show up to that interview though with marketing material on O'Neill Insurance. And I said, I started to learn it. I remember specifically in the interview, I was like, I started really doing some research around risk management, and this was like all new to me. And I was like, I saw a big focus of yours. I think it could be articulated in this way. And I had like created infographics. And I think it was a site like Canva that I was just trying to play. And so I did bring those to the interview. I think that helped. They were impressed with that. I do have a little bit of a graphic eye. I'm not really, really good at it, but I can see what looks good. And so I was able to pull some decent looking pieces together. I would never use them today, but they looked okay. And the story is, once I was hired in, the story is that Patrick O'Neill, the president and owner, he's always been a marketer himself. He values marketing. And he said, after a number of different interviews with these different marketing people, he turned to the chief operating officer and said, just bring in the dancer. Like, I'm over it. Just bring in the dancer. And my resume had just dance written all over it. So He took a chance. He definitely took a chance. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what actually do you do at the O'Neill Group? Are you a one-person department? Are there other people you're delegating to? Like, are you thinking of creating and posting stuff? Is that all day your job? Like, what does it look like?
Yes, so definitely a one-person department. Before they had a marketer in the past, but I want to say there was about a 3 to 4 year gap before they brought in another marketer. So I wouldn't expect them to have more marketers on staff just yet. It is starting to reach a point where I could start building a small team. But yes, all day long, I'm creating content. I'm managing the social media accounts. I'm developing PR based on the different events or things that we're associated with. I'm also working really closely with the sales team, and I think that that's really, really important. In order for the marketing to be effective, I have to integrate very closely with the sales team. And I'm also going out and networking and building relationships and meeting people in the community. So there's a number of different facets, I'd say, within the marketing role.
Yeah, okay, great. So, that's good to know. So it's not just like content creation and posting, right? It's more, it's marketing.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So where does it start for you? Like I'm sure you have like different things you're working with the sales team and whatnot, and you're trying to figure out what's next. Like, where do your ideas come from? What's step one for you on maybe like say on a content piece that you put out, like what's step one?
Step one.
Like,
So
where does it come from, you know?
yeah, that's a great question. I'd say I could focus on brand if I could focus on brand for a second.
Yeah.
At O'Neill Insurance, we have a very intentional culture and a strategic culture plan, and all of our business goals and strategies come from our culture. So when
Can
I
I
first
clarify
started,
that? When you
yes,
say you O'Neill Group has a specific culture, is it mainly for the employees, or is it for the clients, or is it an overarching thing for everybody and everything?
yes, so it's become an overarching thing.
Okay.
About 3.5 years ago, the leadership team really started studying workplace culture to really focus internally on the culture within the workplace, on the employees, on getting them unified around a similar core purpose, goals, objectives, core values, things of that sort. And what it's become is because there's a systematic process to it, because there's rituals around our culture, it's become larger than just internally. While it affects us internally on a really, really deep level, it's also helped us attract and retain clients that value culture.
Yeah.
And it's allowed us to have different conversations around culture. So let's say we're meeting with a manufacturing company and safety is a huge, huge focus of theirs. We can get on the same level by talking about culture and learning about the different practices and behaviors that their employees employ within the workplace to develop a safety culture, right? And so what are those behaviors
Yeah.
like? And so it helps us talk on the same level, I'd say. So it's become a lot larger. And
Yeah.
I've really developed the brand around our culture. And so if you look at all of our social media sites, if you look at even the information on the website, it is really, really focused around who we are and why we do what we do.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So step one, like where you come from, you're saying kind of starts with the culture, right? That's
For
kind of
like brand specific content,
yeah.
yes, starts with the
Yeah.
culture.
And
Today,
then go ahead.
so today, for instance, I was having a conversation with Patrick O'Neill. I was sitting at his desk, and he had on his desk a book that says How to Be a Great Boss. And here he's been the president since 1994, I want to say.
Yeah.
He's nearing retirement, like not nearing retirement, but he's older, and and here he's still a lifelong learner, and he still wants to be a good leader and a good boss, and he's implementing new things to develop his leadership skills. That speaks to the culture, and you'll see that post will be coming up in the next few days. But that's the kind of content that I create on a brand level. It's just like this is the behind the scenes of who we are as people. You know.
So do you have different focuses like brand and then like insurance pieces, right? Like an umbrella, whatever, and then camaraderie around the office, and then personal stuff. Are you doing all those things, and then are you also using your own personal accounts to benefit your role and the O'Neill Group?
Yes. So a lot of the social content is focused around the brand, but then insurance content, I focus like let's say I'm writing an article on umbrella insurance. That's a completely different strategy for me. While I will post something related to insurance on our socials, it's a lot less likely that I'm going to post about umbrella insurance there.
Yeah.
But I will post 10 articles on umbrella insurance on my website because I feel like people are going to Google when they have questions about their insurance. They're not going to social media when they have questions about their insurance. And they're on social media. Why are people on social media is the question. It's like typically when they want to be entertained, when they want to relax, when they're decompressing from their day. And so if I show up with a stock photo of an umbrella and I'm trying to educate them on umbrella insurance randomly in their feed, it's not just going to be something they pass over. It's going to be something that's like annoying, right?
Absolutely.
There's a place for it though. So I did do an umbrella insurance video. I have a daughter who's She's 6 years old. And then Pat O'Neill, who's the son of Patrick O'Neill. I know it's confusing, but his daughter is 4. And we do this video series with the 2 of them. And I did have them get matching raincoats and umbrellas. And they do an umbrella insurance video in 30 seconds. Actually, I think it's less than 30 seconds. That I did post on social media. Entertaining, right? So
Super
I think
cute.
it's hard to be positioned the right way.
Nice. And who edits like the videos and things like that? Is that you?
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, and sometimes it's a little too obvious because I am not a video editor, but
I think they look great. I'm impressed. Nice work.
Thank you.
Yeah. So do you feel like, you talked about dancing and whatnot. I mean, it ended because you got injured, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that I was really struggling with work-life balance at that time. And I know a lot of people are like, work-life balance, that doesn't exist. I was really struggling with it. I was commuting an hour and 10 minutes to work every day. I had 2 kids at the time, really young kids. Now I have 3. And I wouldn't listen to myself. And I wouldn't listen to the needs of my family because I was so passionate about dance and so invested in what I was doing. And I knew I needed to train. And then I also was teaching all day, and I was then doing things afterwards, extracurricular activities for the students that I was teaching. And it was very long days. I was leaving my house at 5:50 a.m. I wasn't coming home until 6 at night with 2 toddlers then. And I read a quote. So after I blew my knee out again that second time, I remember I was so devastated, but I read a quote that said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Something along those lines. I actually have it hanging in my house now. If you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And that was the immediate click to me to say, okay, this is the I need to be okay with moving this direction now.
Yeah. Super grown up, responsible thought, right? Like that's really hard. I'm sure that when that happens, when you got injured that second time, like I can't imagine that. It's interesting because I think we, especially those who are business owners and who have played athletics at a higher level and just focused on something to that degree, like mostly everyone cheers you on and they're like, oh, great work ethic. You work so hard, you're putting in 14-hour days, 16-hour days. Like that's amazing. Great. But like you're saying, like it might not be the best thing for you,
Right. Yeah.
So for somebody who's like, an insurance agency owner or something, like starting posting content stuff, it's kind of scary, I would say. Maybe not scary, but they're apprehensive for certain reasons, right? Like you might be scared, might be worried you're not going to get any likes or shares, or people aren't going to engage, and some people will actually get started and not get any traction really. What would you say to them?
Well, one, I would say that I don't know how agency owners do all of the marketing on their own. A lot of agency owners do not have a marketing person in-house. And regardless of the size, whether you're a 3-person shop or a 50-person shop, it's still, marketing is a big job. And not that I would say, for a 3-person shop to go out and hire a marketer or to outsource it, but I get that there's a struggle there because I know my job is full-time plus. Like I know that there's a lot to be done. So I give a lot of agency owners credit for even committing to one piece of the marketing. Maybe they're consistently posting on social media. I think that's awesome. But yeah, and I think that's where the apprehension comes into play. Is like, what's the ROI? Where do I put my focus? Because my focus is already on my clients' needs, making sure that they're protected the right way, and then also getting new business in the door. And if I'm on Facebook all day posting content and getting 2 or 3 likes, within the first month, like, is that worth it?
Right.
So I totally understand their struggles and their apprehension to it. And it does take consistent practice at one thing. So whether it's a blog article, like I would recommend for an agency owner that wants to market consistently, I'd say focus in one area that you're really, really good at and that you enjoy doing. So if you're a good writer and you like to educate people, then maybe post a blog post once a week. And then when you post that blog post on umbrella insurance, just because we were talking about that earlier, when you post that blog post, share it out on your LinkedIn page, share it out on your Facebook page so that you're distributing it, because without the right search engine optimization strategy behind that umbrella insurance blog post, it's likely not going to be read. And then that time that you spent on it is not going to get the ROI that you need unless you have a good distribution system in place to make sure that people are seeing it.
Yeah. Kind of along those lines of, you get a couple likes over the month and it's like, is this really worth it? Have you been able to actually quantify your work to the agency as far as dollars go, like track things and see what the ROI on your work is?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I'm really glad you're asking that. And I do not have a hard number to give you.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me, like, what's the ROI of a marketing?
Yeah.
I totally get that question. And I actually had that conversation with Patrick this morning too. It's like, how do we measure all of this? Because right now, I spend a lot of the time in the brand space and in building the brand, beefing up the brand. And I'm accomplishing that a lot through social media right now. But it's pictures of our team. It's the work we're doing in the community, right? And so what's happening is I'm showing up in people's feeds with engaging content regularly, so that when Pat O'Neill, the son, who's our main producer, goes out to a Rotary meeting, his friends or people at the Rotary meeting are commenting on what they saw on social media.
Yeah.
Patrick O'Neill goes to a lunch, they're commenting or they're joining him for lunch because they saw something related to him being super advocate for culture, and they want to know what he's doing in the agency, right? So we're building all of these relationships, but a lot of it is tied to brand. And I have a hard time really identifying a metric to help me measure brand.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much impossible. You just think about Budweiser or Coca-Cola or some massive brand. It's like, okay, what's their return on their social, whatever.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
You can't figure it out. Even those guys can't, there's just no way. But I think you're right.
But I will say though, there's that's where the direct marketing can come into play, where you can measure direct results. For instance, I do marketing campaigns for the sales team. I have 2 getting ready to roll out right now, one for benefits and one for primarily the restaurant industry. And so you can directly tie a sale to a marketing campaign if they receive a piece in the mail, a 3D piece in the mail. They say the social ad that's advertised specific to them. Social media advertising gives you a ton of analytics and you can watch their traffic flow. So there are ways to measure specific components of the marketing. But I will say that a lot of it is coming from the brand just when we have the conversations. So we're trying to document those conversations now to really build some sort of metric around it.
Cool. Yeah. Well, and I feel like, building that brand, it does build that trust and familiarity for people. And so when they do get that direct, content piece, they're probably more likely to actually act on it than if they hadn't seen you and trusted you guys. But where do you think agency owners, insurance agency owners should be as far as social content, all that kind of stuff, where they're posting it? Because I'm a little bit on Facebook. Instagram, I am barely even on there, and I don't even have a Snapchat account or whatever, anything else. I couldn't even tell you. But I'm where should people go? Let's start there. This might be a long one.
Okay. That's good. I'd say it starts with your target market. Where's your target market hanging out? Is it personal lines, mainly personal lines? Then let me step back and say, where's your target market hanging out? Where's their headspace in where they're hanging out? So if you sell high net worth home insurance, right?
Yeah.
That high net worth person is likely hanging out on LinkedIn too, and owns a business or has a strong position in a business. But when they're thinking about home insurance, they're not really thinking about it when they're on LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, we have more of a business mental state of mind.
Yes.
And in Facebook and Instagram, we have a more of our home life state of mind. We're connecting with our friends and family and things that are going on in our community. And so I would say, where's your target market hanging out, and reach them where they need to be reached. And so a business owner that's in his business state of mind and you want to go after restaurants and the restaurant owner is hanging out on LinkedIn, then connect with them there and almost use it as a personal brand opportunity. If your agency hasn't established a strong, consistent Facebook posting rhythm yet, then use your personal to not sell, but to build relationships, comment on other people's posts, just really develop strong relationships. So then when you do post something insurance related, they feel more apt to learn more about the work that you do.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think about, so if you're posting for the O'Neill group, posting on their, say, Facebook page, on their Instagram, what do you think about not just posting like Pinterest-esque moments, things that are like real, someone's having a bad day, the dog just threw up on the floor, like whatever, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that's real, but not just like a beautiful picture. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd say that it's a place where you should stay positive, but I don't think that means that you need to be fake, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely like, people don't want to read other people complaining on Facebook, right? But you could spill your coffee, right, in the car, and you got coffee all over the place, and you say, it's one of those days. I'm going to get past it. I'm going to forget that this moment happened, and we're moving forward. That inspires people to be like, yeah, you know what? My shoelace broke today, and it's really annoying, but I'm going to get past that. I'm going to ignore that, right? So I'd say, like, always flip it to a positive. Real life happens, negative things happen, but always flip it to a positive. Nobody wants to be a Debbie Downer or read things from a Debbie Downer.
Right. When you got started, when you started, I know I'm focusing a lot on social, but when you started in your position with the O'Neill Group, and you were you like scared or anxious, or without having real background in it? Like, what was that like? I mean, I'm sure now you're like, no problem, but you guys, no,
I'm still learning. I have so much to learn. I would wish I was stronger at data analytics and measuring all of that. And I'm getting better, but I can be a lot stronger. I wish I was more sophisticated in workflows, and there's so much to learn. So I'm not there yet, Josh. Thank you though. But when I started, I think you're spot on. I was really hyper focused on processes and systems, and I think that bogged me down a little bit, because it was hard to be in the creative space when I was like looking at black and white processes, or just trying to develop processes. And because I'm more of a creative, processes are my weakness. I have to be good at them, but they're on the weaker side of my strengths, I'd say.
Yeah. Do you, I know I've heard some people advocate for creating time to just like think, or, be creative, where you're not following any sort of process. Do you do that?
Yes.
You do?
And
nice.
I can be a little crazy sometimes. So I get up at 3 a.m., not every day, but I'd say 3 to 4 days a week. I'm up at 3 a.m. before anyone in my home is up. And I don't look at my phone. I don't have my phone by me. I may be on my computer if I'm writing something, but I'm always using that time to create in some capacity. Or it could be me working out and listening to music and thinking through something. Like, I always have to be in rhythm to develop something creative. So yeah, I definitely do that, and I would encourage everybody to find the time. That time happens to work the best for me. That's why I do that. 3 a.m. is not everybody's sweet spot, so it could be
Almost nobody's sweet spot.
it could be 11 p.m. though. I guarantee there's many people that stay up and work from 9:30 to midnight.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping then, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're getting up at 3. When are you going to bed?
Yeah, I go to bed at like 8:30 or 9.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Solid. Well, so who's up? When do people start getting up in your house if you're up at 3?
5:30, unfortunately. They all start waking up early too.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense then. The 3 makes sense. I like it. Where can people find you? How can they reach out to you?
I'd say LinkedIn is the best place to reach out to me right now.
Okay.
So you'll find me on Twitter. You'll find me across all our socials, O'Neill Insurance. That's me meaning the socials. So if you message there, I'm there. But also my personal LinkedIn and my personal Twitter.
Nice. Awesome. Dani, thank you so much for being with us. Really, really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Good luck in what you're doing. I mean, you had me fooled that you're not like pro expert. I mean, I know you are, but even though I like the humbleness, you got to keep it going. But man, keep going. You're great.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on here.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Take care.